The 2025 season marked a new chapter for Ferrari, and everything changed when Lewis Hamilton joined the team. Amidst intense pressure and inconsistent performance, the seven-time world champion uncovered and resolved the fundamental issue hindering the SF25's potential. Could this major change put Ferrari back on the path to victory? Let's find out. A quiet afternoon at Ferrari headquarters turned into a historic moment. Lewis Hamilton stepped out of the SF25's cockpit, slowly removed his gloves, and made a small gesture to the team over the radio. Much better. There was no over-the-top celebration. It was just one short sentence, but it shook the hearts of the entire Ferrari team and perhaps their future in Formula One after months of frustration and speculation. Ferrari had finally made a crucial change to the steering system of their car. It wasn't just a technical change, but a philosophical one. Behind Hamilton's brief statement lies a long story about how a team as big as Ferrari could get lost in compromise and ultimately find its way back, thanks to the courage of a seven-time world champion. The problems began in 2022 when Ferrari started adapting the steering system to Carlos Sainz's driving style. Sainz is known for his stability and predictability in corners and wanted a car with a calm front end. Ferrari complied by softening the steering sensitivity and reducing the natural feedback. The result? The car became more composed, but the connection between the driver and the front tires disappeared. Charles Leclerc tried to adapt, but his performance became inconsistent. He lost the sharp response needed to push the car's limits. However, the problem remained hidden until Hamilton arrived. From the first lap at Monza, Lewis Hamilton knew something was wrong. "No feeling," he said seriously. This wasn't just a casual comment, but rather a warning signal from the seven-time world champion. There was no feedback from the front wheels, no communication between car and driver. For Hamilton, who has relied on sharp instincts and complete confidence in the limits of grip throughout his career, this was a nightmare. He felt blind entering corners. When Hamilton speaks, Ferrari listens. The main problem? The SF25's steering. The system had been designed over the past 3 seasons with one dominant philosophy in mind: Carlos Sainz's comfort. While this suited Sainz's more refined driving style, for Hamilton, it was like driving in a fog. Changing that philosophy was no easy feat. The team feared that any revision could upset the chassis balance and cause problems in other areas. However, the facts were undeniable. Telemetry data revealed a worrying pattern. Hamilton's performance was declining on high-speed circuits. He was losing confidence. He was braking earlier, lifting off the throttle too quickly, and making more frequent small steering corrections than usual. All of this indicated one thing: the car wasn't communicating with its driver. For Hamilton, this was a technical disaster that had to be addressed immediately. Hamilton's demands were specific and non-negotiable: more linear steering assistance, the lowest possible latency for hydraulic feedback, and a progressive and predictable torque curve. These weren't just the complaints of a world champion. These were the demands of a driver who knew exactly what he needed to win. Ferrari's technical team worked quietly and in silence, unraveling the layers of problems hidden beneath the data. They completely revised the steering rack and precisely retuned the bushings and dampers to eliminate the slack that disrupted feel. The most striking and boldest change, however, was the reprogramming of the electronic override map, which was built from Hamilton's telemetry data from his time at Mercedes. The goal wasn't to replicate, but rather to recreate the sense of confidence that the Briton had long lost. However, there was a price to pay. The new setup carried significant risks. The sharper front end could make the car erratic during sudden weight transfers, especially in high-speed corners. But when Hamilton finally took to the track, any doubts quickly evaporated. The car reacted quickly, the turn-in was more aggressive, the mid-corner rotation was cleaner, and, most surprisingly, the tires lasted longer than ever. Ferrari may have just found its turning point. Charles Leclerc began to show unease. He acknowledged an improvement in steering field, but noted that the car's balance had changed drastically. It had become wild and unpredictable. For Leclerc, this wasn't just a technical challenge. It was also a loss of the sense of security that had been his strength. The car he once controlled intuitively now seemed to speak a foreign language. Behind the pit wall, tensions began to rise. A polarization slowly emerged. Some engineers remained steadfast in their old approach based on Carlos Sainz's driving style, more stable, conservative, and measured. On the other hand, a growing number of voices believed that Lewis Hamilton's new approach, which is more aggressive, responsive, and risky, is the key to a major breakthrough. Ferrari team principal Frederick Vasseur stands at the center of the storm. He certainly supports the changes needed to challenge the dominance of Red Bull and McLaren. However, his task now goes beyond improving on-track performance. He must also quell the increasingly visible internal conflict. This isn't just a technical issue anymore. It's about trust. It's about trust in the drivers, the team's philosophy, and, most importantly, Ferrari's identity. Before these crucial changes, Ferrari was a team with great potential, though its performance was inconsistent. They could impress on a single lap, as seen in qualifying. But once the race started, the SF25 struggled to maintain full speed. Their weaknesses were clearly visible on technical circuits like Zandvoort and Suzuka. The drivers couldn't push hard because they lacked confidence in the front of the car. Every fast corner became a moment of uncertainty. However, everything changed after the steering system was revised. Improvements to the steering rack, hydraulic feedback, and suspension geometry had an immediate effect. Lap times became more consistent, tires wore down less quickly. And most importantly, both Hamilton and Leclerc found a consistent rhythm from start to finish. Now they are just 25 points behind championship leader Max Verstappen. In the constructors' standings, Ferrari is slowly closing the gap on Red Bull, while McLaren continues to loom large. One thing has become clear and undeniable though: steering feel is the foundation of everything. A car may appear perfect in a simulator or wind tunnel, but without an intuitive connection between the driver's hands and the steering wheel, all that potential disappears on the actual track. Ferrari has rediscovered that connection, and they're back in the title race. This change comes at a crucial time. The new 2026 regulations require teams to finalize their basic chassis and aerodynamic philosophies early. Decisions made now will therefore shape the SF26's DNA. Red Bull is building a car for Verstappen, Mercedes is designing for Russell, and Ferrari. They finally realized what they needed: a car with a sharp, responsive, and intuitive front end. On a workbench in the Ferrari garage lay two gloves, one belonging to Hamilton and one to Leclerc. Beside them was the steering wheel of the SF25. It's a simple sight, but a meaningful one. In Formula One, the most important connection isn't between the engine and the tires. It's between the driver's fingers and the steering wheel. That's where trust is built. That's where instinct is born. Now, for the first time in years, that connection has been rekindled. Ferrari may have improved the feel, but have they also restored trust? Let us know what you think in the comments below.